everybody, my name is Eric Hopkins and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're finding me for the very first time, please hit that like and subscribe button. Any help you guys could give me would be greatly appreciated. As an Indianapolis Colts fan, obviously I am, wanting to be up to speed about what my team is doing when it comes to roster moves. And a lot of times in the offseason, sometimes there's not a whole lot to talk about. And the Colts are generally not a team who usually go after free agents, especially before the draft. But it seems like in the NFL draft, the Colts made some moves that some people, especially in Colts fan circles, are not super thrilled with. Obviously, the Colts have now gone after and signed left tackle Pro Bowler Eric Fisher from the Kansas City Chiefs, coming off an injury. We'll see how that goes, but I think that's a good signing, as I mentioned in my video talking about that signing, so go check that out on the channel. But today, we have some rumors and news, as a matter of fact, about some other moves that the Colts are planning on doing. So let's get into that a little bit here. This comes to us from ESPN, essentially. ESPN lists the Colts as a potential trade destination for Julio Jones, the Atlanta Falcons wide receiver. Some fans are not exactly blown away by general manager Chris Ballard's offseason moves. I think that's a little unfair because, again, it's the Colts' MO to not necessarily go after big name, splash names, free agents. And, because, we tried that once before with Andre Johnson. Do y'all remember that? Yeah, that didn't go too well. Not to say it can't go well, but again, that doesn't excite fan bases. But sometimes building a football team to be successful requires patience, a steady hand, and not absolutely going after the big splash that'll get fans excited in March. You don't win games in March, April, May. You win games in September, October, November, December, and hopefully January and February. That's where you win games. And to be honest, the best way to build a team is from the ground up. Do it in the draft, young guys, and that's the way you do it. I know that doesn't get fans excited, but most smart fans will definitely understand that sometimes it's best to hold off and not spend big money on aging people, as I'll get into here in just a second. But at this point, he's going to have to consider a blockbuster, according to this article. Again, I don't know if I absolutely agree with the wording of this article, but some might file the Carson Wentz trade under that category. But the fact of the matter was that the Colts needed a quarterback. Wentz wanted out of Philly, and everything lined up in regards to the Eagles' asking price. But now that we got Carson Wentz, why not go get him another elite weapon, right? It makes sense, right? Even Pat McAfee has weighed in on this. The Colts' former punter, obviously never one to be, quiet, and he definitely is very outspoken, especially now that he's moved over to the SmackDown WWE brand and is a commentator on that show now. So, good to see him over there as a pro wrestling fan. But yeah, so it does make a lot of sense. If you look at the roster here, as the article points out, the Colts would have on the offense Michael Pittman, T.Y. Hilton, Zach Pascal, possibly a healthy Paris Campbell, Jack Doyle, Mo Alley Cox, and new draftee Kylan Granson at tight end. And if you add, obviously our four very talented running backs in there from Jonathan Taylor, Marlon Mack, Nyheim Hines, and Jordan Wilkins. But then if you add, Julio Jones to that as well, that would be an amazing offense. If you really look at it like that, it does sound great. Now, again, getting back to signing older players, Julio Jones is 32 years old. So if you were to sign Julio Jones, it cannot be, or trade for Julio Jones at this point, I suppose it would have to be, you cannot give up a lot in order to get him, in my opinion. He's a good player. His best years likely are behind him, though. So as a Colts fan, I have mixed feelings about this. Now, I had mixed feelings about the Carson Wentz trade too, but I do feel like Carson Wentz has potential. He's still young enough that he can be an asset to the team as long as he can get protection, stay healthy, and produce. And Julio Jones still has the ability to produce. Don't get me wrong. Now, as a fantasy player, I feel like his production has dropped off, especially in terms of the touchdown, portion of his stats. I think he was better last year, but there a couple years ago he didn't score hardly at all. Now, again, he gets a boatload of yardage, which is always good. And don't get me wrong there. But I just worry with Julio Jones being 32 years of age and what the Colts would have to give up to get him in a trade with with Atlanta. I don't know if it would be prudent for the Colts to do that. And again, like I said, it's not their MO. It's not what they normally do. They tend to, build and build and build patiently. And that's generally, as of the last few years, has been a very good strategy to do. I do often wonder, what would we be like now if we had the healthy Andrew Luck of a few years back before he retired? which I know a lot of Colts fans are still sour about as well. I don't hold it against him. I don't blame him, really, to be honest with you. I mean, he was getting destroyed back there with a poor offensive line, and of course, he just had a kid. He's thinking about his life after football, and so good on him. Smart. I mean, he's never one to be lack of brains. He definitely knew what he was doing. But yeah, as for the Colts now, I mean, I think we're set up very well. I think Colts fans really have nothing to worry about here. Julio Jones could be a good asset. To me, it's all in what you'd have to give him. Like the Eric Fisher signing the other day. 1-year deal, $9.4 million. I think that's a good price for a guy who could pay off more down the line. Now, again, there's another guy who just turned 30. So, you ain't going to get a whole lot of time out of him. You might get 4, 5, 6 years, depending on when, Fisher wants to retire. But Julio Jones, it sounds like he might only have a couple years left at him at best. A lot of times receivers, they start to really lose a step in their early to mid 30s, and especially in their late 30s if they're able to make it that long. So I just don't know if I see this being a good move. But we'll see what the Colts do. But the other story I wanted to get into was another Colts story from the other day, that they have made this move. The Colts have officially announced the signing of ex-Cowboys defensive tackle Antwuan Woods. The Colts announced on Tuesday that the team has signed the former Cowboys defensive tackle while waiving linebacker Anthony Butler in a corresponding roster move. Woods has reportedly signed a 1-year deal. Again, low risk, high reward. If he works out, you sign him for more years. The Colts hosted Woods on Monday and apparently liked what they both saw and heard, as the two sides made quick work on inking a contract together. Just a little bit of his stats here. Antwuan Woods is a former undrafted free agent defensive tackle out of USC in 2016, has also spent time with the Titans organization in addition to the Cowboys. At 6'1", 310 pounds, he's a big dude. Woods has recorded 83 tackles, 25 solo, 4 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, a pass defense, and 2 fumble recoveries during 40 career games, 32 starts with both the Titans and the Cowboys. He also had 23 tackles, 7 solo, a sack, and 2 total QB pressures during 14 games for the Cowboys just this last year. So he missed a couple games. He had 7 starts. It looks like he was a depth move, and he could very well be a depth move for the Colts here. The defensive line has DeForest Buckner. We just drafted Kwity Paye and Dayo Odeyingbo. So those guys, hopefully, Odeyingbo may not play right away due to, kind of like Eric Fisher, he has an Achilles injury. But it sounds like the Colts are working on that interior a little bit. We've got good linebackers. Our secondary is pretty well shored up too now. And we've got some good, solid young players there. Obviously, I don't know if Antwuan Woods is going to be a Pro Bowl caliber player, but it seemed like he did get a little bit better with the Cowboys defense got a little bit better when he was in the lineup. So if that's the case, it could be a valuable asset. And again, he's a big guy. And if you're going to plug up the holes in the run game of opposing teams, a la the Tennessee Titans with Derrick Henry, which is a team we have to stop in the division in order to win the division and hopefully get into the playoffs. So it makes some logical sense to do this. I think we'll see what he does. I'm always an optimistic person for the most part anyway. So I definitely always have a wait-and-see approach when it comes to new signees, especially when I don't know them as well as some other players. But again, that's what the Colts do. They go after names that are good, but not necessarily marquee names. I mean, we're not necessarily a marquee market here in Indianapolis either. So it kind of fits our mold. But from everything I'm reading here, Antwuan Woods definitely fits the type of football player that they want, as a personality and good attitude. That's what we want as Colts fans, I think, is good, well-rounded players to make a good, well-rounded team. So I'm excited for the 2021 season. I can't wait for it to get here, and we're going to have the NFL schedule release today, which I'm releasing this video on May 12th. The schedule release is supposed to come out today, so I'll probably do a little bit of covering that as well. So stick around here, hit the like and subscribe button so you get those videos as well as I talk to the Colts and all sorts of NFL talk once the season starts as well. But what do you guys think about the possibility of the Colts trading for Julio Jones? Also, what do you think about the signing of Antwuan Woods? Comment down below, hit the like and subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when I put up new content on my channel. And don't forget to subscribe right here to the Fat Boy Cartel Podcast, where I also do, trailer reactions, movie talk, We do a full podcast over there. We discuss pro wrestling, NFL, all sorts of stuff with me and a bunch of guys. This is kind of my solo channel here where I do things solo and on my own. But over there, we have a lot of fun. We do skits and things like that with 2 or 3 other guys that we have as regulars on our channel, and we have guests and things like that. So definitely go check them out on Facebook and Twitter and subscribe to them by searching for the Fat Boy Cartel Podcast. But until my next video, guys, take care.
We about to turn it on.